Oh, there we go. We got it. It's a delay there. Welcome everybody to another episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Read? Tech Sales and Marketing Edition. This is not the usual setup, as you can tell. I'm at Sidebar Marketing Con in Austin, Texas, and I have some very special guests with me who I've met before, but we're meeting up again, and some new folks that I've met. I have Joe with me, George, the one and only George, and Casey. And as usual, I have my wonderful co-hosts, Chris and Maria, on. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Morning.
This is awesome. I love the fact that there's so many of us on this one today.
I mean, that's the way to do it. This is how I ideally would like the show to work. And we also have some folks in the back too over here tuning in. Sonia and Bob, who's helping us in the podcast studio.
Brilliant.
This is a unique setup because we're streaming here, we're recording there, and we'll do our best. So just bear with us. How's everyone doing?
It's live. Shit happens.
This is real life. So yes. How's everyone doing? Maria, Chris.
Go for it, Maria.
I just finished wrapping my last gift for the holiday season. I'm very excited. And it's going to somebody that is on this pod.
I hadn't even started, even thinking about it, let alone bloody shopping for the damn stuff yet. There's
very prepared. I feel like I've accomplished something now, so that's good for a Wednesday.
Hey, presents. Speaking of presents, I got an unsolicited. I was about to say an unsolicited dick pic, but it's not. I mean, it's close enough. It's like a box of dicks.
Did you see that segue? That was ideal.
Beautifully done. Thank you. Before we get into opening up gifts, which we're going to dig into that very shortly, let's go around the table and do some intros. Joe, how about you tell us who you are, what do you do, where are you from?
Joseph Beringhouse. I'm the head of demand gen at a company called Sunray Security. I live in Dallas, so just a quick little drive down here to Austin, where we're at today.
Nice.
Yeah. George Comedy, host of Bare Knuckles and Brass Tacks. Danny and I are presenting in just over an hour about our RSA report, so I am also thrilled to be here.
Nice. Casey Barnett, I'm with MindPoint Group, MSSP, based in DC, but I'm actually out of Durham, North Carolina.
Right on. Yeah, we have some comments and suggestions and insights from this show here. So I said, let's go on the show. Let's talk about it. Let's get your feedback, Chris and Maria, and break it down. But Chris, you showed us right before we hit the big red button, that box. What is that box?
I bug it if I know. I got back into the office today and there is an unsolicited box. I think it's addressed to me. Either that or my team's left on my desk to explode. Is it to me? Send? Yeah, I think it's. I bug it if I know. It's just been sent to me. Come on, yeah. Am I allowed to say it's from these people? I hate unsolicited presents. It pisses me off. I hate it because it's a fucking waste. It's an environmental mentalists, terrorists. It pisses me off. Absolutely pisses me off. I don't like it because I didn't ask for it. I didn't get any warning about it. I don't know what the hell's in it. We're going to find out what the fuck is in it. And there's so much bloody environmental waste on this crap. It just annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah. Well, we went through this, a few episodes ago after Black. We had some of that.
Yeah, you got that little RF.
Yeah.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Fucking Arctic Wolf aren't listening to the episodes. Hey, Arctic Wolf, listen up. Please.
They are definitely not going to be sponsors of this show.
Nope.
So what's in there? Because you're very tiny on my screen.
Oh, you assholes. You fucking assholes. Oh, I hate this shit.
We're going to have to do some editing here.
Oh, no.
Well, we can figure things out. Chris has.
What is it?
What is it? Yeah, take us through.
Oh,
You're like a little kid. I'm
no, hell no.
It looks so cool.
Fucking bastards. So this is what was in it. Okay.
What is it?
Take us through it.
It looks like
tell us
this
what
is
it
like
is.
an unboxing. If you were an influencer on Instagram, can you do the whole unboxing experience? Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Chris.
All right, it's full of shit that's going to get all over the office. Let's just start with the easy one.
Yep, love those.
It had 2 items in it, apart from a whole bunch of this nasty shit that gets all over the office. It had 2 items in it. I had this, which is a case, which, by the way, is absolutely empty, and a
All the white-
postcard.
Mm.
Let me read the postcard.
Please.
Learn how Arctic Wolf works around the clock to monitor, detect, and respond to cyber attacks before they impact your business. Schedule a 30-minute demo to claim your complimentary Bose headphones.
Oh, they sent you. So they sent you
Sent
the
you half of
headphone
it.
case
Interesting.
and not the.
No, I mean, they sent me a branded headphone case. And I hate this shit. Do you remember when iPods first came out? Not iPods, the AirPods things.
AirPods.
Yeah, they did that all the bloody time. They sent one of those stupid jelly plastic. I don't know if these guys did. They sent those stupid damn jelly plastic ones and went, hey, if you can spend half an hour with us, we'll send you a pair of free iPods. Or whatever the hell the stupid things are. Earphone things. All right.
All right,
Not
what's
appreciated.
wrong with it?
I mean, let's just start with easy. Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, straight into the bin, that James says. And that's what pisses me off. Okay, you've got so much fucking waste on this. I mean, you want to talk about an environmental disaster that our industry is when we do so many conferences, and you do this shit as well. That's number one. Number two, it's going straight in the bin. I mean, let's face it. There's nothing useful in there.
Chris, question: if so they had sent the headphones, would you have at least kept the headphones?
No, I would have sent them back.
Okay.
I mean, I think.
Because that's Bose headphones. I mean, I got a really nice pair of Bose ones and a really nice pair. I mean, noise canceling headphones, $200-$300.
So, Chris, right now on the pod, what's something that you want for Christmas that you haven't gotten that a vendor can listen to right now and send to you instead?
Do me a favor, donate some money to charity. Donate it to
Rocky Mountain.
donate it to
Great
Rocky
Danes.
Mountain Great Danes. Donate it to freaking Israel or the Palestinians, one side or the other. Actually, I don't care which one. I want people taken care of. The human aspect of it. I want, donate money to the freaking Denver Rescue Me. You can pick a charity and donate some money to the charity.
There you go.
Yeah,
So
I
honestly,
think it was, if they are going to ask you for your time, the reward should be toward a cause that matters to you individually, because it's also the season of giving. It's not the season of taking.
So I'll be honest, we do gifting in some scenarios too, Chris. Not unsolicited stuff like that. I will not send something to your office or your home. I have received those. I will not do that.
Yeah.
But we do some gifting as well, and we always give people the option to make a donation. So one of the options, regardless, is you can choose a donation instead. If you want something, there's something. If you don't, no problem. We'll donate to wherever you want on your behalf. And honestly, usually people do take up on the donation component more so, especially right now.
Well, I mean, most of us don't need anything. Let's face it. I mean, if we're in this industry, for the most part, we get relatively well taken care of, especially at this level. I mean, I'm a freaking CISO. If I want my own headphones, I'm going to buy the ones I actually want.
Yeah.
And okay, so yes, can I regift it to the team? Absolutely. And quite honestly, when stuff has turned up like this, it goes one of two ways. Either it gets sent straight back, or it gets regifted to the team. I mean, I'll just put it out and go, like pick and choose and stuff like that. But for me, honestly, some of the best things that have happened, and Cecil did it, and actually Maria and Newspire have done it as well. They sent gifts to Rocky Mountain Great Dane Rescues.
Yeah.
That hits me so much better. I mean, it's not environmental unfriendly, let's face it. Secondly, it is doing some good, and it's doing something that I do anyway. So I kind of appreciate somebody else actually just adding an extra zero to the darn thing or something. And
it's an alignment to your values rather than trying to guilt you into taking a meeting. That's a social engineering tactic, right?
Perfect way of putting it. Yeah, because now, I mean, this turns up, and if it had been like a bottle or something, or if there had actually been a gift in there, exactly to your point, now there's a level of guilt involved. Now there's oh gosh, I have to do this, or I should do this, or now I feel, or you're going to get the blasted, you're going to get the phone calls or the emails or something like that. And it's just, no, just don't do it.
It's so wasteful. Like, I mean, the chances of somebody actually calling you to take a 30-minute meeting to get that, so you're throwing out that massive box, you're throwing out the stupid thing, and all of that cost a ton of money. I don't.
And also all the hours to create, all the hours to design, all the hours to lay out, the vendor relationships you had to create to do it, all of those things, and now you feel like you have to do if the one even making that. So if Arctic Wolf is going through that, they've got
It's a sunk cost.
So many people going now, they're like, I'm already paid for it. We might as well do something.
Seniority too.
And so they're not even really trying to go after it. So
I mean, I know how much work it takes. Just our team, we send out like a holiday season, like an end of year thank you for your business thing, and I call each one of my customers and ask them what they would like. And we don't have like a standard thing. I say, here's a couple of ideas. Here's how much budget I have. You tell me what would be helpful for you or what you would like us to do with the money.
Please
But just to do that takes hours of people's time. Like we have 9 people boxing stuff up, shipping stuff out, making donations, buying gift cards, sending gift cards. That's for customers that we're saying thank you to.
I think that the best, I got one. So Anixia, Shara and the team from Anixia just sent like a little thank you package for me being out there and just general for the help I'm doing. And it was actually totally cool. It had tea bags in it. And it actually had like the refresher tea bags, the rejuvenate refresher, actually really rather nice. It had that. It had chocolate in it. I mean, let's face it, who doesn't like good dark salted caramel chocolate? And it had a freaking candle in it. I mean, you want to talk about that experience package. To me, that was actually totally freaking cool. Honestly, the candle is one of these. It's actually a really, really freaking nice one. It's in the bathroom because, we make smells. It's as simple as that. We pee in the corners on the plants and we make smells. So, it's in the bathroom because it smells nice, which kind of counteracts all the other stuff. The tea's really nice. I actually had a cup of it yesterday, and a small bit of chocolate. I mean that, and it was in a box like a third of the size of this, less than that. And I mean, it was small. It was done properly. There was no waste, no crap in it, and it was just small and a nice thank you.
And does that turn into business, or what does that turn into? What's the next step after that from a metrics or ROI standpoint, right? Because at the end of the day,
customers, I mean, so I've got one quick story. I did a customer campaign similar to what you were just talking about, but we did cookies, like the holiday cookies you get around.
I've done that before.
Yeah. The problem is we did white powdered cookies. So the white powdered cookies we sent to a federal office building. They opened it, it had exploded during and there was white powder that was then in the building and evacuated the building. Needless to say, we got a phone call from our customer that day and said, thank you so much for the thought. We had told them ahead of time we were going to send them the cookies, right? They were, thank you so much for the thought. We just evacuated the building. We're going back in now.
Your marketing campaign will be remembered.
Yes. I have a letter to this day that is stamped and hanging on my desk at home from that campaign. Needless to say, I will not send cookies anymore at holidays.
You got some legs out of the story, though.
Yeah, it was a good one. I've been using that for years. It's
That's beautiful.
Everyone makes mistakes. Let's just put it that way, okay? No, but there is. I mean, when it's customers, there's really not I don't know. You just got one from a customer, right, Chris? It's not. I'm not trying to necessarily get more business out of you. I just want you to, I don't know, maybe remember us a little bit around the holidays. We appreciate you. We try to appreciate our customers, and so it's just a little thank you for what you're doing.
So
the other thing too, I was thinking, I don't give strangers presents. I don't do that ever. Yeah. And also, I would be willing to bet anybody that's actually going to cash in on that stupid 30-minute meeting is a Seymour, and you're not going to do business with them anyway because that's the type of people that take those meetings largely.
Yeah, actually, Elliot just said something which actually reminds me. So, how many of you remember the snort pig?
I love the snort pig. I have one on my
and the calendars. So Elliot, you said used to send their special wall calendars. So snort pigs, not Splunk. Good gods, who the hell is it? Why can't I remember who it is?
It was Snort.
It was Snort. Yeah, the Snort piggy. So they used to do the calendars, and they were absolutely fantastic. I mean, that took so much creativity, and it was a ton of fun because it was like a cool brand. It was a cool, fun thing to do. It was a pretty easy calendar, and they had the cartoons on them. So, I mean, you had that 12-month thing, and it was actually useful because when we actually used to use calendars. But yeah, no, I think when you send it out to somebody to say thank you,
be useful, right?
Mm-hmm.
You said be useful. Me is useful, candles. Me trying to gimmick you with a half-open bag of something, is less.
I will say in some scenarios, Chris, you are in the public eye to some extent. I would expect that if we were to do it, let's pretend we were going after you. If we were, I would hope that someone on our team would be watching the podcast or reading your post and understand you. You're somewhat in the public. The other side of
Yes.
the coin is when people are not in the public and don't share those things, it can be very challenging. And that's when you get the guess at, we'd love to send you this thing I think you like in this scenario. Like, you don't want Beats headphones. I know that.
Okay, so I mean, honestly, so if we break down the cost of this, so I mean, this has taken some money to put this together because it's branded, it's a headphone case. The whole thing took money. I don't know how much, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks.
I would guess about $20. Yeah.
Yeah, so 20 bucks. I mean, honestly, for that, do me a favor. I mean, if you're not going to stick it off to charity, send a freaking set of tea bags or send a bar of chocolate or something, something like, to your point.
That's what here first. Everyone send Chris tea and dark chocolate. All right. Or donate to his charities.
There we go.
You know me stuff though. Right?
Exactly.
So, like that's stuff where you're supposed to do a little bit of research on the people you're going after, and like, I mean, how hard is it to find this information to get even just a sliver of information?
It's
that would actually
very
be
challenging for people that aren't in the public and do stuff like this. It is very, very hard.
Well, okay, then let's reverse it. Let's change it. Let's change the cycle around. I'm on the sales side, let's say, and I'm sending to the four of you. I can do the simple thing and just shoot an email out, literally, and it might go somewhere, it might go nowhere, and say, hey, look, holiday season, we just want to say thanks for what you do, for who you are, for defending the people you defend, and hey, nothing else more than that. We'd love to either send you something, a box of cookies or a bar of chocolate and some tea, or we'd love to donate to your charity. If so, let us know.
Yeah.
That's it, done.
Yeah, that's basically an opt-in model rather than I just shove this to you and you have to sort of willfully opt in.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, at that point,
If you're going to do a mass campaign, that's a really good idea, Chris.
at some point, I can respond and say, hey, do me a favor, shoot $100 off to Rocky Mountain InfoSec, Hack for Kids, to pick the charity, or you know what, I would love a cup of tea. And at that point, honestly, if somebody's like, hey, I would potentially even go, hey, I'd love to share a cup of tea. And if it's somebody I'm like half interested in talking to in 2024, I might turn and say, hey, let's share a cup of tea.
What was in the panel?
In a panel that we were talking about yesterday, the hard part is it's easy for us here to say, just send them an email, send them a DM on LinkedIn. You get hundreds of those a day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Standing out is very, very challenging, which is why then I'm not going to say I defend Arctic Wolf. I'm also not going to say I haven't done that myself. So pot calling the kettle black. But to some extent, they went and did it because they probably have tried those things and didn't get your attention. So they then stepped up. That would be my expectation. Again, not saying I justify it, but they're somewhat trying to, I'm guessing, think out of the box to then get you to somewhat respond. I don't know if they sent you an email, but I do like the idea.
So
Hard part is, did it go in spam? Did you miss it? You got 15 that day? That kind of thing is certainly something we're struggling with often too. So
I've got 19 emails in 2020. What are we in? We're in 2023, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sending Chris some tea right now.
God help you don't send twinnings.
Do you like everyday?
Oh, good gods, do not send twinings. Don't send lessons.
I know this, man. Yorkshire Gold.
Yeah.
I love Yorkshire Gold. Found it at Whole Foods yesterday. I was very happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of emails from Arctic. Ironically, the last one was in 2022.
Okay, see, so that's either maybe they're ending up in your spam, which then goes back to, can I actually get to you with that message?
No, because I think the other thing is as well is if I look on LinkedIn while I'm doing this live, let me grab another one of those. Let me just drop it up over there.
Ideal scenario when I'm planning a campaign like this is that we reach out. We then, if we don't hear from you, then you maybe get an offer for a gift of some sort or charity. If you still don't respond, then maybe you would get something to your door if you're a really, really high value customer, prospect, something like that. But I don't know. I also struggle shipping things to people's office anymore because most people don't go into the office. So we stopped doing direct mail to the office, and instead, we'll use postal. The vendor here, I know you guys go postal too. We'll use postal, and we'll send you a link. Like, here's the thing that we're going to ship you. If you want it, great. If not, no worries. But we'd love some time to just chat through. And then value prop. I got an email yesterday. I get emails all the time. I'm sure you guys do too. But I got an email the other day that said they wanted me to take a meeting. They wanted me to take a meeting. They thought they could really help me with my personal problems for this next year around marketing planning. And then I responded back to the person. I was like, your subject line was great. I actually opened the email. I read it. It got me interested. But you didn't tell me what the heck you do.
Yeah.
So again, the person then didn't respond. I knew it was an automated cadence because I got an email the next day that was the exact same thing. And I was like, okay, now I'm just going to block you. But
You open
I tried.
so yes.
Right. Like you got my attention, a good subject line, but I don't know what you do. You say you can help me, but I don't know how. So
Well, I think
we
this
do right though.
comes-
Try.
So to the cultural point, right? The anthropologist in me is always going to bring it back.
Yeah.
A lot of these things are conceived of in a vacuum. You know, the marketing team sitting around the table and they're like, oh, we have this vendor contract with a direct mail.
Yeah.
What can we do? And they're in it, but they're in it with themselves and they haven't bothered to get the feedback from the community. Like either go ask their customers, like, what would you like? Or just pressure test the ideas outside of the echo chamber.
Mhm.
And so then you're like, oh, what if we only send the case
What an idea.
and not the headphones? And then they have, so it all sounds brilliant in the room, but there's air in that room and they haven't gotten the feedback from outside.
No, it should be sales, marketing, customer. That's how you decide your marketing campaign. All this, like, that's in my opinion what would work best. Like when we're gonna do something, I pick up the phone, call Chris, and say, "Is this gonna piss you the fuck off, or is this something that's gonna add value?" And then I'll call somebody totally opposite of Chris. That is a very good friendly of new buyers as well, because Chris is, let's face it, probably 5% of the personalities are like Chris. The rest are somewhere in between or on the other side, right? So you got to get perspective from your customers. You got to listen to the sales team and what sales is hearing on the front lines is being resonating, or what we're hearing from prospects, and then come up with a plan.
That's an important point, and I think you're spot on. And that's, again, I appreciate it when somebody calls up. So I mean, Maria, you do it. We do it with the Newsbuy stuff. Do it with like Savannah and some of the other stuff. I mean, there's a number of folks where I'll have that conversation. You're right. I'm only a part of it because, you know, I was watching the conversation back and forth yesterday when, you know, Danny was having a conversation about a couple of the folks that were up presenting about, hey, you know, some people actually do like to go out for dinners and some do like this and some do like this. And I'm like, I know what my opinion of that is, which is we can go do dinner when the project's in, it's run, everything's working in properly, and we're walking side by side. That way we can go say thank you to each other. And guess what? You know what? I'm going to pick up the tab sometimes and, you know, we'll trade off on the tab.
We split it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how it should, to me, that's how it should be. And I think you're right. I know for the most part, I'm not in the majority on those ways of thinking.
All right, I want to.
Oh, look at that. You got some balloons.
They do.
What just happened?
Yeah.
How
yeah.
the heck did that work?
I was like, what the fuck
Is
is
it
Danny
using,
doing?
wait, oh, I
think
think you
it's
use
only
Zoom as the back end.
Yeah.
What did I do? Was it just doing this, did it? All right, we'll have to have that.
It didn't.
Now do 2 thumbs up now, Chris. All right, do 2 thumbs up for me. It does another one.
I do this with my daughter all day.
Smoking its own.
Okay, weird squirrel moment. I want to shift the conversation. Maria, do you have any examples, WTF moments from this week?
I did. It's a small one,
Okay.
but it bothered me. Obviously, I'm on the sales side. Obviously, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. Obviously, I spend a lot of my day direct messaging people things that might be interesting, or a webinar topic, or a podcast that might be valuable. And that kind of stuff happens to me a lot. And I tend to respond to most people because I understand, like, this sucks. It's really hard to get somebody to respond to you. But this person yesterday asked me, he sent me a message, and it's buried way down below now, Danny, because I was inviting everybody to the podcast yesterday. But essentially he said, hello, I enjoyed your season of attitude of gratitude post that you made. So he looked at like one post, like that was from yesterday or something, and then immediately asked me for 30 minutes in the same sentence.
Oh yeah.
Talk about something that like doesn't matter to me. And I just sent it to Chris and Danny. I was like, I just feel like that was really soon to ask for a first date. I'm just saying, like, I just think there's a right and wrong way to do stuff when you're going to use these platforms. Like, typically, if I'm going to do that, I'm going to connect with you, follow you, get engaged in your content, start conversations around your content, but do it from a perspective of genuine curiosity, and at least provide something of value back to this individual. And then maybe I'll say, hey, let's talk shop. over coffee or something like that, if you'd like, or I'd like to connect with people. Or sometimes if I feel like I've got a good rapport, even if it's just a digital one with a person, I'll be very direct and just say, we're an MSSP. If you're ever in need of SOC services, let me know. Would love to chat, but not asking for a meeting.
I think it's time horizon, and it's being comfortable with the long game. So like you said, you're spending a lot of time in LinkedIn doing that. So to ever get to that at a critical mass, right? Because the CROs are always going to say, well, that doesn't scale or whatever. Yeah. You have to be sort of in the milieu all the time and slowly building that. And Carlos is on, and he was sharing a win where a person he was talking to said, hey, I value partners that we trust. I'd love to learn what you do. But he'd been talking to that dude for months about not sales compliance. They had a mutual interest in something else. Mm-hmm. And that's like what you're doing in a room. So if, to your point, Maria, it's like, oh, LinkedIn is social, so I'm going to be social, but it's only a tactic to get to a meeting, then you're using it incorrectly. And you have to be comfortable with the fact that I have introduced myself to Maria. I'm not going to ask for anything, but like 4 or 5 weeks from now, but I have to be doing a lot of little conversations every day to achieve some kind of scale.
Yep.
I think the problem here that I have is that this person is piggybacking off of an initiative that you really care about.
Yeah, an attitude of gratitude.
It's
right.
Like,
that's not appreciative, that's exploitive.
Yeah. This comes up in a lot of conversations I have with practitioners. Like, if I'm working with a charity or if I'm doing something for DEI, they'll say like, oh, we love DEI too. By the way, we do this. And it's just like, don't piggyback off of someone's passion in order to get a meeting or get your foot in the door.
I love minorities. Got 30 minutes?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's you're in sales, right? So that to me is poor training in some scenario, because they hear and on the LinkedIn echo chamber, you'll see, we want you to personalize. And so to some extent, their personalization is like, all right, what can I find in LinkedIn in 30 seconds so I can scale this message? It's like, oh, great, attitude of gratitude. And then, by the way, we do this. So they're trying to combine both the conversion that needs to scale with a personalization piece. The caveat is you kind of need to separate the two. So what we've been doing similar with our team as well. It's like, just connect with the person, say, hey, you don't have to ask them for a meeting today. Say, hey, and then send them a piece of content that you think might be relevant from the research you've done on the account. Could be something of ours, could be a competitor, could be whoever. If it's good content that's relevant, ideally it relates back to us too, right? Like there's a component of that. And then down the road, keep that relationship going. In a couple weeks, send another piece. In a couple weeks, then maybe you ask for a meeting. But it's not, to your point, it's not day one on the first date, hey, you want to get married?
And dystopian nightmare fuel is that post may not have been a person, right? I have tools to just scrape the three most recent posts. It will show you what they said. You like pick it, and then it like routes that copy into a template and blast. That's likely what happened here, given the format of that communication.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. That felt. Maybe.
Very well, it's either bad practice or it's automated. Either way,
Either way, it sucks. How about that?
They didn't have the patience to like.
The other thing I think too that people are having a hard time understanding is just like anything else, when you're trying to make a relationship or start a conversation with somebody, there can't be an ulterior motive. My ulterior motive in anything I'm doing is to grow my network. Because guess what? Nobody takes meetings for a pair of headphones anymore. Chris just said it. Most people would probably agree. And people, when they're ready to buy something, they've already researched 3 to 4 companies that they're most likely going to engage with to start the request for information or whatever they're doing. And so the more people that know Maria exists and Maria's in the ecosystem, Maria works for Newspire and MSSP that largely seems to be trustworthy, not sucking, then they can talk to their peers and say, oh, you should talk to Maria. She might be able to help. And that is largely how I'm getting leads anymore. To me, marketing's function needs to be more about keeping the brand in front of people and thought leadership and that type of stuff, not sending boxes and asking for meetings. It's my job to go get a meeting.
Yeah, Yanni brings up a good point here in the comments about the KPIs. So like if sales is measured on activity, and activity has traditionally been like how many calls this week, how many emails sent, whatever, then if you are incentivizing numbers, you're going to get numbers.
Yep.
But to your point, it could you can change that system. You can say like how many connections today, of those connections, how many you can. It's worth experimenting on the qualitative measures, because the now late Charlie Munger said, like, show me the incentives and I'll show you the outcome. So if you want to change that behavior, you're going to have to change what you're trying to measure.
All right, we got one more example before we kick it off to some questions in the audience. By the way, folks, if you have questions for all of us here, drop them in the comments. Maria is going to manage the comments today and bring them up. I got a message yesterday, actually, from somebody I connected with, because I thought, oh, cool, like another agency, and I was very naive, and I was, hoping that we could just share ideas with each other.
Hopeful.
Yes. But she said, glad we're connected. Danny was looking over your profile and wanted to reach out. If I could show you the one thing in bold organizations like Advent Health, Baha Mar, and Busch Gardens are doing to build powerful brands in today's digital world, would you be interested? Might sound crass, but your consumers are more sophisticated than ever, and research shows customers expect more from the brands they work with than ever before. If you're open-minded, I'm opening up slots to a handful of brands for a free brand identity consultation. After looking over your profile, I thought you would be a great fit. I don't know why, because I'm a solo business, which is, interesting. I'm not Busch Gardens or Advent Health. You'll leave with a clear picture of exactly what your brand needs to do to stand out in today's competitive market and build a kind of brand that customers run to work with. What day and time works best for you?
Was that an email or was that a conversation?
No, so we had connected.
Okay.
I hit yes in the middle of a panel, probably your panel.
Nice.
And then she sent me right away this pitch. I felt a certain way because I believe customers don't go to brands first. They go to people. Like if you want to help me boost my people brand. What do you think? I feel like you.
Yeah, that's a good segue. I think so. First, I actually think this message is like 3 times too long.
Yes.
Especially for an in-mail. In-mail is not an email. Send a message. Again, going back to the training piece with sales team, in-mail is like a text. It is not an email. Do not treat in-mail like an email. If you do, I will definitely never respond, and neither do people.
Yeah.
Shoot, even emails getting shorter. But I don't know. Do you know this person at all?
I don't know this person at all.
Yeah. Are you ever going to work with this person now? All right.
And I'm not interested. Like, it's not relevant.
It's also bad social proof, right? Like
the
social proof component needs to match as well. So if you can't say that your social proof matches with a company of your size, to your point, I'm not Advent Health. This goes back to the personalization piece, right? Like match up what you're selling with the end user's business model or function.
Do you think that's because they scraped the title? They were like, CEO of Audience First, therefore
it's possible, but it should still at least somewhat match.
Look at the account, look at the company.
And this, I don't know if this is automated. This goes back to the problem with automation. We do some automation as well. I will admit, again, I'm not going to pop color code black, but the caveat is we don't do that. And I'm very, very wary of personalization on things like this, where it is something that cannot be controlled.
Yeah. Well, I want to bring up and ask all of you a question. And this is really prevalent in this conference, is like with cybersecurity practitioners, it's about trust. It's about getting to know people. So at what point, Chris, do you run to like Anixia? Like you think about Anixia versus Sivan. Like at what point do you think about the company versus the person?
Oh, that's an interesting one.
That's a good question.
Okay, so let's just say, let's say in this case, we'll go back to the new Spy Maria one, because that's it's the same kind of thing to some degree.
Yeah.
I think when I first started, turn up a boom, first question out of my mouth was, what do we have? Where is it? Didn't quite get the answers I was looking for. I'm okay, I need that awareness, I need the insight, I need the visibility. I need to go find somebody that can do that. Coming in as a CISO, you know what it is. It's MSSP stuff, it's logging and monitoring. Not going to do it internally, right? Now I need to go look for somebody on the outside. At that point, it's a very company focus. Here are the ones I don't want to work with. Here are the ones I want to work with. And in this case, here is one I didn't know about. Okay. And at that point, that conversation very quickly shifted from, hey, I hadn't come across Newspire to, holy shit, this is actually a really good conversation with a person. So that shifted immediately away from the company and more to the human. Then to Maria's credit, and the same thing with Silvana and Anixia and stuff like that, it was like, hey, here I am, but hey, here's another person that we can help out in this one. Here's somebody I'm going to bring in for this part of the conversation. So all of a sudden, it's not just a single focus. All of a sudden, now you see the company has good, competent people, good, competent technical people. The company cares about people. And all of a sudden, it still blends that person and company, but it's much less of a company conversation and much more of a human conversation. That shift happens pretty quickly.
Pretty quick.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments on brand perception?
You can ruin it quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, so to that point, this is another one. So we had this on the podcast a few weeks ago. I got hit up, I think it was back to that, the LinkedIn conversation, and I responded. I can't remember how it went back and forth, but then I growled at somebody else, and I found out that individual was just an automated account that had been given to the marketing, to like a third-party marketing company. So it wasn't even somebody from the company. So at that point, I started off with a company, and I ended up briefly talking to somebody on here and asking what the hell is going on, and basically to find out I'm getting lied to by somebody, by an automated individual that doesn't even, is not even the company. And at that point, I'm like, yeah, we're done, out of here.
It's actually a very common tactic.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, and that's the problem.
Very, very common. Before AI, people have been there. There are third-party companies that will do exactly that, where they will create people that work for your company, and then they are now it's like an SDR team externally.
Yeah, absolutely. But
now
I feel duped. Now I'm like, well, hang on, what the hell's going on here?
There's one more question on brand from Grayson. If we can tackle that and then move on. We're redoing our website, data sheets, and social media. We want to build a brand and trust in the US. What do you think the highest value activities are we should follow, and what's a good order of operations?
Website first.
Website first.
Website first. Everyone's going to see your website first. When Chris is looking at your company, they're going to the website first. You need data sheet second, and then social last, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially your company social.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean company social is not valuable, but the odds of somebody finding you on your company social are very slim unless you're paying for it at a very early stage.
And to your point also, and Maria's, by the time they get to you, they have done their Google searches and whatever. And so they need to understand what it is on your site. And to just point earlier, make sure it's very clear what you do and how you do it. And to Danny and I's point later today, when we do our talk on RSA, really pressure test the hell out of that messaging. Clarity is super hard.
Yeah.
It is hard work. And you have to, you can brain dump and you'll probably have a lot of buzzwords, and then you got to take it outside and explain it to your mom. And if she's like, what on earth are you talking about? You go back, keep stripping it down, make it super clear. It's so hard. It's so hard, but get out of the echo chamber.
Yeah.
And sorry, this is the one thing that we're going to give away here is how there is a difference between how you describe your service or your product, and there is a difference in the way Chris describes your service or your product to his friends, right? And that's what you want to optimize for is what does the practitioner think you do? You're like next gen EDR, ZTNA, and Chris is like, oh, I found this pretty cool vendor, had a great conversation. I really feel like they can help us with automating our asset management, because he's thinking about the business problem he's trying to solve. Yep. You're thinking about the shiny widgets I need to slap on the site because my competitor is doing the same thing, and you got to resist that.
Just echoing that, invest the resources in the clarity first, in the words first, and then in the usability, and then in the prettiness, and then in the function.
But everything falls really easily once you get the message.
Yeah.
We'll just take
George, do you remember when we were walking the trade show floor at RSA with Chris?
Yes. And I felt so sorry when we got to that booth and there was a hoodie, and she was like, so do you want to learn about it? I was like, no, don't approach it.
I walked away. I was like, he's going to eat her for breakfast.
He's going to eat her.
Well, because also the booth had so much acronym soup on it, it made, or maybe it was the zero, the sub 0% trust or something.
Protect you against the unknown unknowns. I'm like, you bunch of arrogant assholes.
Oh man.
But
that's a good.
Let me add to what George and Danny have said on this one, because it's absolutely critical. And George, you said it perfectly earlier, which is, you're all sitting around in, designing the website and putting it together in your own echo chamber. And it is at points like that. Danny, I mean, when you put a bunch of us in a room together and we assassinated a number of vendors, it was useful, because what it does is exactly to the point that you're making there. It's, look, this is what you think. You want to put the acronym soup up there because everybody else has done it. I hate acronyms. I have an abject hatred for them, because half the time there's new ones that you've all invented just for sheer shits and giggles, and we don't know what the hell they are. I mean, bloody thumbs.
Something interesting yesterday.
I did. So honestly, Chris, this is something Dan and I were talking yesterday about the acronym soup problem. The caveat that I guess I'll propose back is, there are many times when we will not say an acronym first. Many times we like to not start with an acronym. In fact, Danny was like, "Can you say what you do in one line?" And I did. And then I was like, "And if you want to go by Gartner's acronym, it's X." But I describe it without first. And so somebody often, when we're having a conversation though, and our sales team's having conversations, they'll say, "Well, do you fit into? Are you this category?" So they will then turn it back and ask us, because they have an RFP or they have some sort of budget line item approval for that acronym. So to some extent, we as marketers are then like, okay, well, if they're shopping for that, I have to use it to some extent. I don't like the acronyms either, but they're shopping and have a budgeted item for that acronym only. And if I'm not that acronym,
you don't get put. Actually, let's meet halfway on this one.
All right.
Let's be halfway on this one. And this would actually be a freaking awesome website. Or actually, we've done it. I did it with Gabrielle, and I did it for Wiser. I actually broke down, like InfoSec speak. There's a whole, we haven't talked about that. We're going to do a book on that one day. We broke it down. It's on his website somewhere. We broke the acronym soup down. But here's would be an interesting one. Somewhere on your website, you need a title at the top, which is, translation, acronym 2, or what the heck is it called? It's not a dictionary. It's a bloody
glossary.
It's a glossary.
Thank you. Yes, you need a glossary. That would be a hoot, because you could have some fun with that one. The personality of the company could come out and go, hey, if you've seen the bloody website and where we've said, zero this and this is actually what we mean. You put a little glossary tab in there. You could actually have some fun with that.
Yeah, we'll create a new modal that'll pop up and it'll say, do you want to proceed in English or analyst or analyst speak? Or analyst speak. And
there's our next product.
That's right. Whatever web dev agency wants to pick that up, pay me.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? And then you could, okay, you want analyst? Oh my God, you could have so much fun with this. You want analyst mode, you want geek speak, you want CISO speak, or you want sarcasm.
Again, sponsored by.
And then the one you like, or the one for your mom, so you can.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh, that would be awesome.
We've tried to do something where we mend the gap somewhat too. It's like, even under our product tab, we'll have the acronym, and then we'll have a descriptor of what we would call it. So like, it would be Kim, and then it would be identity and access, or identity and permissions, or like CSPM is configurations. Like, if you're looking for the acronym, it's there, but like, we actually would prefer call it by what we can solve instead of the acronym, but it's there if you need it.
But if you do proper English, then it's typically you spell it out the first sentence, like, hey, we do blah 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 blah, and then you put an acronym, and then it's okay to start using it. But
I think it's also like we should, as any good hacker, we should exploit this vulnerability, which is to say, I would train a sales team to have these calls and be like, we do this, and then if somebody asks like what category it is, you could joke. You can say like, all right, well, I was trying to get away with that, and then it creates a human.
That's what our team does. They're very good at it.
That's what you have to do, because my definition, let's say, so Newspire as an MSSP, we have our definition of MDR totally different than Arctic Wolf's definition of MDR. Totally, Chris has never called what I do MDR once. Yep. So you really have to stay out of. I stay the hell away from even my slides that have acronyms. I say, I know there's acronyms. Let's ignore them. Let's just talk about outcomes.
That's what we do.
That's
our sales team.
That's what we got to do.
To your point, I mean, again, this is a broader challenge, and a lot of vendors have come to me with this problem. It's like, buyers are categorizing things based on the acronyms, based on the different markets. How do we fit into that? And like, how do we get into the line item?
Yeah.
Because we do a lot. We're not, we're a niche product, but we can do a lot still. how do we position ourselves? I mean, it's a challenge. I don't think we can obviously answer today.
But that also goes back to why we were talking in the panel that I was on yesterday about why you want to go after the CISO often and why people try and start there. And my comment back was, don't always start with the CISO. They are not always the best person for your product. Maybe they are, but maybe not. And Chris, I think you would agree with that too. You're not always the person you want someone to start with. Yeah, we've talked about
totally. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
This
Like-
is
No, go for it. No, go for
I
it.
was gonna say this next segue also to product, like some of the conversations we had around products and also services and the differences in communication styles. Casey, you want to kind of set that up for us? Like, what were some of the things you've observed here?
Yeah, so coming out with the team here, and my group has just put out our first product that we built in-house, but we have an identity that we're trying to figure out on the product side, but we've been an MSP for 14 years. So like we've been on this side of it, and we're trying to come into the conversations that are happening in the rooms here, and they're all talking product-led growth, product, and then every once in a while somebody will drop in a little bit of service information. So we're trying to translate a lot of what is working on the marketing side in cyber on product, but actually it's on the service side where it's really the humans, the people, the time that you're trying to get out of it, and not just the newest dashboard or the newest product piece or the newest plugin to go into one of the systems.
Did some of those insights that you got in the CISO panel help you with regards to how you're trying to improve with the?
I don't know on the CISO panel if it like there was some help there. I mean, it this year did echo what happened last year as well, I think. Within there. So there are a lot of some similar things that we took away. I think that the bigger understanding was actually in some of the other sessions that we had, which was understanding like who are we supposed to be going after? Who is the first touch, which was actually going after those IT directors, the IT marketers, people that are hearing the problem first before the CISO has to take on the challenge and take it over is the better tactic in a lot of places, is what we were seeing from some of the other data and some other stuff that came out. So
the caveat I would say is the larger the company too, though, the harder it is to change what that line item is for if you don't start with someone that is higher up. So while I may say like, yeah, it's great to start lower level, I know we talked about this too, Chris, but if the line item is set for X acronym or X solution, that budget line item doesn't get changed by maybe the person that I actually want to start with. It gets changed usually a couple lines up, if not by a procurement team too. It's like, to some extent, that's why it's easier to start with higher up, and why everyone wants to start higher up is you can allocate the budget however you want.
Yeah, no, that is a good point. But again, from my standpoint, I mean, a perfect example, when we comes to certain areas, I delegate straight away. Actually, Brad's sitting there. I delegate a bunch of it straight to Brad, or I delegate.
Hi, Brad.
He's on the other side of my glass, my goldfish bowl. He's wandering around like he normally does. I swear, he's such a fucking social butterfly, but I love him for it because he just knows what the hell's going on. It's a beautiful balance. It's actually fun to watch sometimes.
Yeah, that is cool. That is
cool.
Cool.
But no, to your point, I think the other thing is as well. So a perfect example would be, we've been setting budgets. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. Long story on that one day. But we've been setting budgets for 2024. Now we're setting the budgets. We're sorting it all out. Here's what I know I need to be focused on. Now, in certain circumstances, I'm focused on things for NIST Cybersecurity Framework or DoD 800-171. I'm focusing on, I need to improve the maturity. I need to do certain things against that one. Here is where I know I need to look at it on these certain areas. Some of it is definitely discretionary, exactly to your point. It's like, hey, I'm going to put a discretionary side of it out there for things I don't know about yet. Yeah. But there are definitely certain areas where, to your point, if all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I don't need to spend as much on this, but there's some interesting stuff on here I'm going to spend money on. I have that ability to adjust that as long as I take that fight and go fight it with whoever I need to on the finance side.
Right.
That isn't something that, that anybody else under the team could be able to do. Now they can come to me and say, hey, we want to do this instead of this. Then we work it through. Then we do the risk adjustments. Then we figure out and go, okay, good idea or not a good idea.
That's where I have to give huge props to our product marketing and content team here. Is that's where they then spend time of educating the buyer on why the problem is a problem at every stage of seniority, whether it's you're the architect or you're the CISO. There's something for both of you, because you're going to look too. Like you're not going to just sign a bill that comes to your desk, Chris, right?
No.
Right. So.
Yeah.
I think kudos to the team for actually coming up with the content. That goes back to, like, as you're doing a new product, right? Do you have content that maps to that product earlier on when they're first learning about this being a problem and how you could potentially solve it?
But I think but again, to me, it rarely do. I won't look at a product first. I'm not looking to solve a product. What I'm looking to do is, how do I, it's a game of chess. I mean, we look at security, it is a game of chess, unfortunately, and that's never going to change. What are the tactics I'm likely to be facing in 2024 and 2025? How do I best ensure the organization is able to work within, is able to defer those tactics, to work with them, understand them, whatever we need to do that, as well as from a maturity standpoint, as well as how the company is expanding. So I'm very, very much looking at it from a business aspect. And then when I figured out the business aspect of it, then I've got to take a step back and go, within our security industry, the 4,500 freaking vendors that are out there, how do I determine which bits of those vendors are going to do it? And the challenge on any of that stuff is, we're walking around RSA. I got 15 seconds as I'm walking by a booth. It's 15 seconds. I'm going to look at that booth to determine whether it fits in anything that's rolling through the Rolodex.
Yeah.
It's not easy, either side.
Well, right. And to your point, if you're walking the expo floor with those problems on your head, you are not walking the expo floor with pattern recognition, machine learning classifiers for acronyms in your head, right? You're not like, there's all the VTNA stuff that I need, and here's all of the CPSM stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That just, yeah. No, you're right. 100% correct on that.
All right. We have 9 minutes left. I want to save some time for any questions. Any of you have questions for Chris or Maria or myself? Anybody in the audience? I mean, we covered a lot of ground today, which is awesome.
This was fun. We have to do this like this again.
Many hands, light work.
Yes.
I mean, I have a question for you guys, because you guys and gals, actually, because you guys have been sitting in this room and at this conference. What is the best way for a company to use their social media platforms to do things? What do you do with your company's social media platform?
Let's start.
I repurpose a lot of the content of the people in the company that are subject matter experts. Subject matter experts. Wow. Brain fart there. I mean, again, to Joe's point, I don't see buyers rushing to the corporate accounts. They're engaging with people, right? There are some people that follow the corporate accounts as a supplement to the personal account of somebody they've connected with. And the best advice that I got yesterday, which basically validates some of the stuff that we're doing on corporate accounts, is that buyers, practitioners, they don't have time to consume long form content, so that those quick bites are what's going to get them to stop the scroll and consume the content. So also visual. Well, so Chase Cunningham was here too, and he threw.
I saw his costume. He looked fab.
Okay, so I didn't know that was him until the day after, which was weird. But he threw some really good stats down where he said, like, we have literally the attention span of a goldfish, right? And we like also visual, like it's statistically known that we like visual content. That's most engaging. So if you could do, infographics, images, videos work really well for us and for me over at Nucleus and Audience First. That to me, if you do that consistently and stack those over time, that's what's going to get the attention from the corporate account and also from the personal accounts.
Yeah, and our content team has done very similar. We're even on a Slacking this morning with our content leader, and we did a podcast a week ago on another podcast. Our CTO is on it, and we have a distribution strategy now of how to take all of those snippets and turn it into bite-sized chunks. And so she's talking about how to chop it up. Yep. What do we want? All three of the people? Do we just want one? Do we want to make it to where it's a minute long or 30 seconds long? Can we include it in a blog as well? Where else can that content go? So the company platform, I look at it as a jumping off point for the rest of our company as well. So we're posting somebody from the company page, and they can then either take it as a reference or even share it as well as another way to get it out. But that's just how I view it.
Yeah. Let me a really good infographic that I'll share in the Slack channel, or not the Slack channel, the LinkedIn chat here. Another company, so I don't know if you know Full Funnel IO.
I do.
Yeah, so they basically had a really cool infographic of how to take the smaller bites of content from social and then like pair it to like broader story drivers to create some kind of narrative for the people you're trying to persuade or engage with. So it's really cool.
I think it's
Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing on that one, and it's ironically, I'm having a couple of conversations with some folks at the moment. Obviously, Sylvan and the Nixer crew, the JFrog crew hit me up as well and want to have and I love some of the stupid, crazy things they do. But we're having that conversation, and for me, it's twofold. One, there's got to be a level of pride in the organization that you are with in order to want to share, reshare, or do something.
Agreed.
I also look at it the other way around. When I'm doing work and I'm investigating who's looking, who's talking, I also want to see who inside those companies is also resharing information, or whether they're shying away from it, because that's a pretty telling story as well, especially if they've got somebody relatively high profile in that organization. Is that person willing to stand up and go, hey, this is the organization on my arm that I represent, and I'm happy to do it? Or is it like, yeah, I'm just taking a paycheck and hoping for the best?
And to me, that also goes back to the quality of the content. We 100% know when our sales team likes specific content better than others and when they're prouder. I'm sure as well here, you've seen content that you really like and want to share with people and some that you don't. I mean, we shared an article a couple weeks ago that was based on data that we had from our own experience, and our team shared it like crazy. They pulled it up in the middle of a pitch. They pulled it up with an investor, and it's like, okay, we get it. You like that. That was phenomenal. So then we double down on how can we take that content and turn it into other pieces too.
I feel like we should have a content discussion next week.
Yes.
Because again, I just did the thing with Newspire, because we get the weekly reports, and they're putting like a Q4 end of year one out, and I'm like, holy shit, that's going to be awesome, because I use those weekly ones internally, and we share bits out with various teams. Go, hey, we talk about patching, here's why, and all the other stuff, and it's like, it's a great for an awareness thing. So yeah, I like the content stuff. I think that'd be useful.
All right, and parting thoughts before we sign off. Who wants to go first?
I think it's clear here at Cyber Marketing Con among the marketers that the recognition of the cold outreach and all, basically the impetus for this podcast, is dead. But the fact that it's still occurring tells me that there is still a large disconnect between most marketing and sales teams. I think they're diverging in tactics, and the more successful companies are bringing that together.
I think there's been a large conversation around brand a lot this year, about elevating brand, putting the brands out there, make them correctly memorable whenever you can.
Correctly.
That's the key. And making it so that when those sales teams do finally get someone to respond or do something, that the brand isn't in the way, and that it can be a door opener.
Yeah, I think for me it was there are so many cyber companies that are saying the exact same thing. We even looked at a couple that had the same headlines on their websites, and so it was trying to be different while also being truthful were the two, I think, really big takeaways for me. Was how can we stand out in our web and our messaging and our email and our DMs? How can we stand out and maybe be a little bit on the edge that maybe we shouldn't be without going over, which is a struggle? And then can we be truthful with, we do these things really well. This is what you should talk to us for. If not, go to that person. They sincerely go better. So
Qualify out fast.
Yeah.
Maria.
Oh my gosh. I loved this was so fun. That's my takeaway. My takeaway for today is this was super fun. It was nice to meet the two of you. I'm glad you guys are dropping some knowledge bombs at the con, and I can't wait to hear the summary from George and Danny when you get home.
Chris.
Absolute honor and an absolute pleasure to have all of you on the show with us. Really loved it. Absolutely surprised this morning. Turned on.
Welcome to WTF planning. We do things on the fly.
I love it. I love.
His face was like, whoa.
I love it. George, as always, just thank you, especially also for the podcast that you and the crew do. Just so freaking awesome to see that and see it succeed. So thank you.
Yeah.
And other two, much appreciated. As always, I love the time that we have here. So thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
The other takeaway is, why is Chris still in anyone's CRM?
Yeah.
No.
I just
like, dude, do research and just rub that.
Paint them up.
I have to tell you a funny story because we have 2 minutes. I have to tell you a funny story because we have 2 minutes still. After Chris became a Newspire client, we had this old, outdated workflow rule in the CRM that would trigger an email that went out once you registered in our portal or whatever. And it got sent to Chris, and it was like Thanksgiving weekend, like that Friday. So no one is working, and he's blowing up my phone going, turn this shit off, turn this shit off. And I was like, we couldn't figure out where it was. Like I had this huge chat spun up internally. I can't get a hold of anybody. And we couldn't figure out where the workflow was coming from because it was so old and it predated the current marketing team's like reign or whatever. And it ended up having to be, Chris, I never told you this. It was Jeremy found it in a sim log. We found it in the sim where it was.
So what you're saying is we don't need to worry about AI so much as really dumb if-then workflows.
Yes, it was so, but we fixed it all. So it was good. We fixed it. But I was like, I swear I took you out of the CRM. I don't know where this is coming from.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining us live from
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for those sitting in the crowd and for Bob, who helped us out with the production here. And to all of you, this was
That was a
awesome.
blast.
Thanks for having us.
I wish
Thanks
we
for
could
having
have
us.
more lives like this. This is really, really good.
Yes, it was fun.
Yeah, this was awesome.
So pardon me while I run around to hit stop stream and hopefully not lights again.
We need the outro music. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
Oh, we didn't do the intro and outro. Yeah.
Word talk. So hopefully people are not too hangry and tired by the end of
Good
this.
luck on stage. Good luck on stage.
you.
Hope it goes
Good luck.
really, really, really well.
Oh,
Outro music.
bye.